Travel alert, using the path, you travel north, taking 10 minutes to arrive. Continuing north, you come across a large, sandy area here, 50 feet or so in diameter and rather unusual, as if something had just dumped the sand here from above. Even more unusual, what appears to be a single treasure chest sits in the exact center of the sandy area, its top unlocked and slightly ajar. Thick vegetation surrounds the sand, with apparent paths leading both north and east. As you look about, let's do a party curiosity check to see what happens. Needing a 11 or less from your heroes, a 17 was rolled. Failure, peering into the brush and small plants surrounding the sandy area but not seeing anything threatening, your heroes cautiously proceed toward the treasure chest, stepping onto the sandy area. Suddenly, a small group of giant praying mantises leap out of the vegetation and attack, surprising the party and thus going first in combat. Your party is under attack. About to attack your party are 4 giant praying mantis. Giant praying mantis number 1 attacks Ariana with its bite, needing a 22 to hit. Die roll is a 13, plus 5 to hit. Giant praying mantis number 3 attacks Ariana with its bite, needing a 22 to hit. Die roll is Giant praying mantis number 4 attacks Eswin with its bite. Giant praying mantis number 2 attacks Eswin with its bite, needing a 20 to hit. It's Janet's turn. What do you want her to do? Janet readies her mace +2 and swings at giant praying mantis number 2, needing a 16 to hit. Ariana readies her longsword +1 and swings at giant praying mantis number 1, needing a 16. Redfern uses a wand of phantasmal force on giant praying mantis number 2, nearly horrifying it, needing a 45 or less on percentile dice, a 99 is rolled. Sainaeus readies his mace +1 and swings at giant praying mantis number 2. Eswin uses a boots of speed on himself, allowing himself to act twice each round for 5 minutes. Cartha readies her mace +1 and swings at giant praying mantis number 1. GM note, a new combat round has begun. Initiative is rolled, with higher values acting first. GM alert, be careful here, Janet. Needing a 35 or less on percentile dice, a 85 is rolled. Failure. Marioleth. Eswin readies his longsword +2 and swings at giant praying mantis number 4, needing a 35 or less on percentile dice, a 7. Ariana readies her longsword +1 and swings at giant praying mantis number 1, needing a 16 to hit. Giant praying mantis number 4 attacks Eswin with its bite, needing a 20 to hit. It's Janet's turn. What do you want her to do? Janet readies her mace +2 and swings at giant praying mantis number 1, needing a 45 or less on percentile dice, a 89 is rolled. Eswin readies his longsword +2 and swings at giant praying mantis number 4, needing a 16 to hit. Redfern readies his quarterstaff +1 and swings at giant. Cartha readies her mace +1 and swings at giant praying mantis number 4. GM note, a new combat round has begun. Initiative is rolled. Eswin readies his longsword +2 and swings at giant praying mantis number 4. Marioleth readies her longsword +1 and swings at giant prey. Sainaeus readies his mace +1 and swings at giant praying. It's Ariana's turn. What do you want her to do? Ariana readies her longsword +1 and swings at giant praying mantis number 3, needing a 60. Redfern readies his quarterstaff +1 and swings at giant praying mantis number 3. Barthol readies his short sword +1 and swings at giant praying mantis number 3. Eswin readies his longsword +2 and swings at giant praying mantis number 3. Janet readies her mace +2 and swings at giant praying mantis number 3. GM note, a new combat round has begun. Initiative is rolled, with Eswin readies his longsword +2 and swings at giant praying mantis number 3, needing a 16 to hit. Die roll is a 8, plus 8 to hit. Eswin hits giant praying mantis number 3, doing 11 points of damage and defeating it. Well done. All combatants have been defeated, ending the battle. Each hero receives 180 experience points. The party drives the giant praying mantises away, leaving the lone treasure chest about 30 feet away available for exploration. Approaching the treasure chest, you can't help but wonder why anyone would place such an object out here in the middle of nowhere. Indeed, as you get to within 10 feet of the chest, you notice dried blood on the sand, an ominous sign. Don't come any closer, a bizarre voice is heard, stopping all of you in your tracks. Believe it or not, it's the treasure chest talking, and it has something more to say. I am being used as bait, help me, and I will help you. Choose an option, agree, ask the chest what to do, disagree, attack the chest instead, ignore, leave the chest alone. It's a mimic, the young fighter warns, using her weapon to keep your distance. They're usually not so helpful. I am tired of being used as bait, the treasure chest continues, the way it speaks almost comical. There is a family of Ankegs directly below me, come any closer and they'll attack. What do you suggest? Eswin asks, taking the mimic seriously. If I move a certain way, the Ankegs will rise up and attack. Defeat them for me and let me leave in peace, that's all I ask. What's really in it for you? Eswin responds, not at all trusting of the bizarre creature. I just want to escape, the living chest answers. The Ankegs have held me captive for a long time, I need to be done with them. It's not every day that you can hold a conversation with a treasure chest. Let's do a wisdom check on your hero to gauge your gut reaction to the encounter. Needing a 14 or less from Janet, a 8 was rolled. Success, well, your gut is telling you that the mimic is being truthful, it's simply a victim and it wants its freedom. You don't trust it of course, but you don't need to fear it either. Stand back, and I will trigger the Ankegs to attack, the mimic states, warning you to prepare. Be careful of the mimic's heavy pseudopod, Ariana whispers into your ear, the fighter herself taking a defensive stance. If it betrays us and attacks as well, its pseudopod can easily kill a grown man. The sand beneath you begins to shake. Moments later, a 10-foot-tall, insect-looking monstrosity rises out of the sand, its mandibles biting in anticipation of a quick meal. The creature seems somewhat surprised, expecting to surprise you instead. Several more Ankegs then appear, the fight is on. Your party is under attack. About to attack your party are 4 Ankegs. It's Eswin's turn. What do you want him to do? Eswin uses a boots of speed on himself, allowing himself to act, needing a 45 or less on percentile dice, a 95 is rolled. Failure. Janet casts Spiritual Hammer on Ankeg number 4, bashing it for 3 points of damage for 5 minutes. It's Ariana readies her longsword +1 and swings at Ankeg number 4, needing a 8. Cartha readies her mace +1 and swings at Ankeg number 4, needing a 35 or less on percentile dice, a 10 is rolled. Success. Marioleth blends in. Redfern readies his quarterstaff +1 and swings at Ankeg number 3, needing an 18 to hit. Die roll. Sainadius readies his mace +1 and swings at Ankeg number 3, Eswin readies his longsword +2 and swings at Ankeg number 3, needing. Ankeg number 1 attacks Ariana with its bite needing a 20. Ankeg number 2 attacks Eswin with its bite needing a 20 to hit. Die roll. GM note, a new combat round has begun. Eswin readies his longsword +2 and swings at Ankeg number 2, needing a 18 to hit. Die roll is a 18. Marioleth readies her longsword +1 and swings at Ankeg number 2, needing a 14 to hit, +4 due to hiding in shadows. Janet readies her mace +2 and swings at Ankeg number 3. It's Barthal's turn. What do you want him to do? Barthal readies his short sword +1 and swings at Ankeg number 3, Eswin readies his longsword +2 and swings at Ankeg number 1, Ariana readies her longsword +1 and swings at Ankeg number 1, Redfern readies his quarterstaff +1 and swings at Ankeg. Sainadius readies his mace +1 and swings at Ankeg. Cartha readies her mace +1 and swings at Ankeg number 1, need. GM note, a new combat round has begun. Initiative. Eswin readies his longsword +2 and swings at Ankeg number 1. Marioleth readies her longsword +1 and swings at Ankeg number 1, Ariana readies her longsword +1 and swings at Ankeg number 1, needing a 18 to hit. Die roll is a 13, +6 to hit, Ariana hits Ankeg number 1, doing 4 points of damage and defeating it. Well done. All combatants have been defeated, ending the battle. Each hero receives 202 experience points. The Ankegs prove to be quite nasty and your party ends up destroying them rather than just forcing them to flee. Remaining almost hidden in the ruckus is the mimic, the strange life form unable to move quickly enough to flee. Acting as a sort of tongue, the mimic sticks its pseudopod out and into the ground, using it to ever so slowly push itself away. The mimic is certainly aware of your presence here, and given how slowly it moves itself, you could easily jump upon the creature and destroy it if you wish. What would you like to do? Choose an option: let the mimic escape, slay the mimic. The honor score for Janet remains the same. You honored your end of the bargain, so we will honor ours. Eswin calls out to the mimic as it drags itself away. The creature stops, intent on speaking one last time before crawling away. Check the Ankeg nest deep in the sand. You will find some of the shiny baubles there you humanoids seem to like. And with that, the mimic drags itself into the surrounding vegetation, the bizarre monster soon gone. Taking the mimic's advice, your heroes dig down deep into the sand, taking a good half hour to do a thorough search. To your pleasant surprise, the party finds a small cache of coins, gems and even a few potions. In addition, you unearth a metallic shield, its soft glow betraying the defensive item as magical. Looks like a little trust has gone a long way with the mimic. The encounter here in the sand over with now, it's time to move on. Trails lead away to the north and east as well as back to the south. Eswin nods and takes everything from within the immediate area. Travel alert. Using the path, you travel north, taking 10 minutes to arrive. Following a slight trail north in the marshland, you soon come to a place that seems like a natural place to rest and defend. Several large boulders and small trees would protect you to the north, west and east, and the area itself slopes slightly upward so you'd maintain the high ground should something attack. Of all the places you've been so far here in the swamp, this one seems the safest. We should camp here, Ariana suggests, her elven sense recognizing the potential campsite for what it is as well. Taking Ariana's advice, you step into the protective haven, ready to make camp, unpack and unwind. What is that? Redfern asks out loud, pointing toward one of the larger stones within the relative clearing. Resting upon the stone is what appears to be a silver coffer, the object surrounded by a variety of smaller rocks, branches, and debris as to be nearly hidden from view. The object looks intriguing, but of course you will need to inspect it closely to learn more. No sooner than moving 10 feet or so forward, however, you bump into some sort of unseen wall. The way ahead looks clear, but something solid is preventing you from advancing. What is this? Eswin complains, using his weapon to prod the invisible wall before your adventuring party. It's some sort of magical force field, Redfern returns, feeling the barrier for himself. It looks like we're not welcome here. The invisible force field here prevents the party from using the area as a campsite. Unless you can figure out how to bring the magical barrier down, you will need to leave the area and return south again. Travel alert. Using the path, you travel south. Travel alert. Using the path, you travel east, taking 15 minutes to arrive. Trekking east, you soon come across a fairly large, gardened area, the plants here well taken care of and the flowers colorful and in full bloom. Clearly, this area is being carefully attended to by some superior intelligence. Dominating the garden are at least a dozen stone statues, each chiseled and carved by someone who knew what they were doing. As you enter the garden, however, you quickly realize that the statues are not of people but of creatures. Naturally, you will want to give the garden a careful search. Doing a quick inventory within the garden, you realize that the statues are specifically of marshland-born creatures, all similar to several of the monsters you've already encountered here in the swamp. Indeed, it's almost as if the garden has been dedicated to all the creatures who recently tried to destroy you. Still looking about, you hear something approaching from the south. Let's do a party dexterity check to see if you can hide yourselves fast enough before you're spotted. Needing a 14 or less from your heroes, a 17 was rolled. Failure, unfortunately, you're not able to hide yourselves quick enough and you're spotted by some approaching swamp monsters, the humanoid creatures, who you faced earlier in the marshland, immediately irate at having spotted you within their garden. As you prepare for battle, the 5 swamp monsters rush your party and attack. Your party is under attack. Coming at all of you are 5 swamp monsters. It's Barthol's turn. What do you want him to do? Needing a 45 or less on percentile dice, a 51 is rolled. Failure. Barthol try. Kartha casts Spiritual Hammer on Swamp Monster number 5, bashing it for 2 points of damage for 5 minutes. Marioleth casts Phantasmal Force on Swamp Monster number 5, nearly horrifying it, needing a 15 or greater. It's Janet's turn. What do you want her to do? Janet readies her mace +2 and swings at Swamp Monster number 5, needing a 16 to hit. Ariana readies her longsword +1 and swings at Swamp Monster number 5, it's Senires's turn. What do you... Senires casts Spiritual Hammer on Swamp Monster number 5, bashing it for 4 points of damage for 5 minutes. Swamp Monster number 2 attacks Eswin with its claws, needing it. Swamp Monster number 4 attacks Eswin with its claws, needing it. It's Redfern's turn. What do you want? Redfern casts Fireball on roughly half of all encountered combatants, blasting them in an explosion of flame. Swamp Monster number 1 is burned for 26 points of damage, needing a 15 or greater. Swamp Monster number 1 rolls a 7. GM note, a new combat round has begun. Initiative is rolled, with higher values acting first. Eswin readies his longsword +2 and swings at Swamp Monster number 2. Barthol readies his short sword +1 and swings at Swamp Monster. Kartha readies her mace +1 and swings at Swamp Monster number 2. Marioleth casts Magic Missile on Swamp Monster number 2, striking it with a magic missile for 6 points of damage. Swamp Monster number 2 has been defeated. Well done. All combatants have been defeated, ending the battle. Each hero receives 225 experience points. The swamp monsters are defeated and they escape back into the marshland to lick their wounds. You're free again to further search the garden if you wish. I can't be sure, Redfern begins, carefully inspecting one of the statues. But I think these were made from magic, they just seem too perfect to have been sculpted. A marshland with not only swamp monsters and giant beasts but magical statues. Eswin questions. This isn't making any sense. What's this? Ariana calls out, standing alongside the central statue within the garden, the statue itself carved to look like a dominating shambling mound. Having carefully inspected the Chambleer statue, Ariana opens a tiny, concealed door. Inside, she finds a small bit of parchment, carefully rolled up. The alert warrior retrieves the parchment and, with your blessing, hands it to Redfern. These are magical instructions, Redfern notes moments later after unfolding the parchment. Redfern looks to you with surprise, then reads the short message. Friends, I've been forced to protect the marshland from invaders against my will, I mean you no harm. Look for the silver coffers, I've hidden notes in them to help you reach me. Redfern's eyes suddenly widen and he looks to you, extremely surprised. The message is signed. Lodice. Lodi's, as in the old, crazy wizard we've been searching for? Eswin asks, somewhat cynical. He must be here. Kartha almost shouts, enthusiastic about the surprising find. Well done, Ariana. It sounds like we need to search for these silver coffers, Sainairs reiterates. Maybe he's trapped here, just like us. Then let's go find him. Ariana says with a grin, ready to lead your heroes forward. GM note, your quest log has been updated. Click the quests button for all the details. Didn't we see a silver coffer back in that protective haven to the northwest? Ariana reminds the party, your heroes unable to penetrate the strange force field there. And this note has magic embedded into it. Redfern follows, sensing an opportunity. Maybe this parchment is also some sort of key to get past the force field. Let's go see, Eswin instructs, suggesting that your party return to area number 7 on your map. Standing amongst the stone statues here, you can travel south from where the swamp monsters came from, back west or to the north where another trail seems to lead. Indeed, the northern trail seems peculiar and out of place, so you may want to try the northern route before heading south. Travel alert, returning to the secret haven, you take an hour to arrive. Returning to the secret haven within the marshland, nothing has changed, you still can't move forward to camp, rest and recover. Redfern then notices something heating up in one of his pockets. It's the note you just found written by Lodi's. Holding it up, the parchment appears to be glowing, and the closer he holds it to the invisible force field, the brighter it gets. It must be some sort of key as well, Kartha suggests, the priestess standing nearest to Redfern. Try touching it against the force field. With a nod, Redfern presses the note against the invisible wall. Immediately, the parchment burns away, but so, too, does the force field. Well done, it appears you can camp here now. It looks like you were right, wizard, Eswin comments to Redfern, laying a hand on Redfern's shoulder in support. Then it appears that this Lodi's might actually be trying to help us, Kartha conjectures, always hopeful. Let's go search the silver coffer over there and see if another note exists. The way forward clear, you're now able to further investigate the potential campsite here. Reaching the silver coffer and carefully retrieving it from all the material that was purposely placed around the small chest to conceal it, your heroes first check the coffer for traps or hidden mechanisms. The box unlocked, Eswin then cautiously opens the cover. Inside is another piece of parchment, identical to what you recovered within the statue garden to the southeast. The note reads, "This is the only safe area within the swamp. Rest and recover, then come find me further to the southeast. I need your help to prevent a catastrophe upon all of EAA." A catastrophe upon EAA? Sainairs remarks, rather shocked. What does he mean by that? It sounds like Lodi's is not only here but needs our help. Kartha responds, concerned for all. We need to find him as soon as possible. Yes, but first we need to rest and recover, Eswin instructs, looking about. In agreement, your heroes survey the area, ensuring that it is safe before laying down their packs, pitching a few small tents and establishing a camp here in the marshland. It's been a long time since you've been able to rest and recover, so you're definitely looking forward to it. About an hour later, your camp is secured and you quickly enjoy a meal together around a small campfire. I will take the first watch, Eswin announces, keeping his armor on and remaining vigilant. I will join you, Kartha adds, nodding to the dark-skinned fighter. Joining Eswin and Kartha, you watch as the others remove their armor, climb into their tents and fall asleep. Another hour passes in virtual silence, the three of you sitting atop some old, rotting logs around the fire, remaining watchful but having a little more of your rations and water skins as well. Standing for a moment to stretch his legs, Eswin seems to detect an aroma in the air, asking about it moments later. There is that sickening smell again. What is that? Wetlands like this often produce a sort of gas, Kartha responds, detecting the smell as well. This is such a dangerous place. I fear for all of us. Fear does not suit you, Eswin replies, a sort of compliment. Your faith seems to keep you strong. We mutant don't use the word faith, Kartha replies, choosing her words carefully. Faith implies belief, and typically a belief based on some sort of personal reward. For example, Sislans put their belief in Sisla, and in return they choose to believe they'll be rewarded with immortality, even though nobody can say whether that's genuinely true. We mutant, on the other hand, reject anything we can't prove, even, or, if, especially, it might offer a personal reward. Do you see the difference? Your thoughts, Janet? Choose an option. Altruism, rejecting belief is actually brave. Optimism, better to believe, just in case. Tolerance, what does it matter anyway? Janet permanently increases her reason score by 1 point, rejecting belief, and the personal rewards that come with it, is actually quite brave, you comment, recognizing the sacrifice Kartha is making to further understand the world and her place in it. Only a non-believer can ever truly make sense of what is happening all around us. To each his own, that's how I see it, Eswin replies, growing uncomfortable with the conversation. Believe what you want, just don't make me suffer because of it. What is it you say, that you're Eswin, Sorcerer Slayer? Kartha responds with a bit of cynicism. Don't you make others suffer, namely magic users, because of what you believe? That's totally different, the fighter answers quietly, turning away. Of course, Kartha continues, even more cynical. It sounds like you act only on your beliefs, too, then. I am nothing like the Sislan over there. Eswin lashes back at Kartha, standing and pointing in the direction of Sainadius asleep a few dozen yards away. Like you, I act only from experience, from some of the horrible things I've seen. I am nothing like you suggest. What are you talking about? Kartha asks in a lower voice, intrigued now. The warrior stares at Kartha for a moment, then turns to you. You sense that he both wants to say something but also wants to keep quiet. Let's do a charisma check on your hero and see how this goes. Needing a 12 or less from Janet, a 9 was rolled. Success, encouraging Eswin to continue with just a nod, the fighter turns and stares off into the distance, beginning his tortured tale. Years ago, I was dared to retrieve a single straw from the bed of a wicked sorcerer who lived just outside my village. I had to do it, my pride was at stake. Honor keep? Kartha asks, apparently aware of the ritual. Let's do an intelligence check on your hero to see if you know anything about honor keep. Needing a 13 or less from Janet, a 9 was rolled. Success, yes, you're aware of the adolescent ritual, where young men coming of age are required to perform a specific task to prove themselves. In some tribes, failing an honor keep can lead to an entire lifetime of shame and dishonor. So I snuck into the sorcerer's home, but his familiar, a large dog guarding the place, attacked me. It was either it or me, so I killed the beast. But as I tried to escape, the sorcerer caught me, and promised I would suffer for killing the one creature dearest to him. He then did something to me, magicked me, and when I returned to my village, I just couldn't stop myself. What did you do? Kartha asks in horror, not entirely sure she wants to know. Eswin looks Kartha straight in the eye, reliving the horrible experience in his mind. I returned home, and I killed them. Every child I could find, I murdered in cold blood. The fear, the horror, the look of betrayal in their innocent little eyes. I just couldn't stop. Finally, his magic wore off, but not before I had butchered over 20 of my brothers and sisters. Kartha subconsciously puts her hand over her mouth, aghast by the tale. Eswin then raises his hand, showing Kartha his palm, the same skull with terrifying lightning bolts tattooed there that he had shown your adventuring party when he first joined all of you back in Kathleen. The elders believed death was too lenient a punishment for me, so I was permanently cursed. Now I bear so much pain in my body that each day is a struggle to keep my sanity. Can't it be removed? Kartha asks almost with a whisper, shocked by the revelation. I must perform an act of bravery to match my act of barbarism, Eswin responds, lowering his hand again. But you were under a spell, Kartha contends. It wasn't your fault. I went to the sorcerer's home, I participated in honor keep, that was my doing. Anyway, an utterly corrupt sorcerer got me into all this, so I believe the destruction of another such sorcerer, by my hand, will get me out. At least my hatred is based on something more than just mindless faith. How do you wish to respond, Janet? Choose an option, charisma, nod to Eswin with respect, intelligence, agree his plan makes sense, wisdom, perhaps together, we can help. Not sure what to think about Eswin's sad, painful situation, you simply nod to him out of respect, hopeful that, one day perhaps, he can somehow rid himself of the curse. Given how this adventuring party seems to draw trouble to it, perhaps we will meet such a powerful adversary someday, Kartha comments after a long pause, the conversation winding down. I hope you can hold out until then. Eswin stares at Kartha for a few moments, turns to you, then sits back down to finish his rations, unsure of whether he should have just kept his mouth shut or not. You can't help but feel incredibly sorry for the warrior, and now, perhaps, you understand him a little better. The conversation ends, and your party simply goes about its business there in the campsite. GM note, it's dark here. Click the Use Item button to select a source of light, the area safe and secure. Feel free to spend all the time you wish here, healing your wounds, recovering your spells, and just getting away from it all for a little while. Your party rests and recovers for 8 hours. Wounds are tended. Janet casts Cure Light Wounds on Ariana, healing her for 8 hit points. Janet casts Cure Moderate Wounds on Eswin, healing him for 15 hit points. Kartha casts Cure Light Wounds on herself, healing her for 7 hit points. Kartha casts Cure Light Wounds on Ariana, healing her. Sainairs casts Cure Light Wounds on Janet, healing her for 6 hit points. Your party rests and recovers for 8 hours. Wounds are tended, spells are memorized, and your heroes are refreshed and re-energized. Travel alert, returning to the statue garden, you take an hour to arrive. Standing amongst the stone statues here, you can travel south from where the swamp monsters came from, back west or to the north where another trail seems to lead. Indeed, the northern trail. GM note, it's dark here. Click the Use Item button to select a source of light, travel alert, using the path, you travel north, taking 15 minutes to arrive. Following a slight trail in the marsh leading north, you walk about 100 yards before coming to a cave entrance, its opening 10 feet high and 20 feet wide. Stepping into the cave, a small, twisty tunnel quickly leads to a modest open cavern, full of both stalactites and stalagmites, and the vast majority of its floor inundated in dark water, a small underground lake. The cave appears to terminate in this location. This is all the farther you can go. Ariana uses a glowing skull throughout the entire local area, illuminating everything well. While you don't find anything important lying about within the cave, you do notice something of extreme importance in the far northwestern corner, what appears to be a treasure trove. Throwing some light in that direction, you can see thousands of coins lying on the floor, along with various pieces of jewelry and even some weapons, armor, and shields. The pile looks quite impressive. However, most of the cave is inundated with water, blocking your path to the treasure. To reach it, you will have to swim about 50 feet through dark waters that don't look inviting. Indeed, as you look about, let's do a party curiosity check and see what happens. Needing a 11 or less from your heroes, a 4 was rolled. Success, there, just to the right of the treasure. Ariana whispers, pointing ahead. I see, eyes, just above the water line. Your heroes peer ahead. Sure enough, you see what appear to be a pair of eyes watching you from the distance, their size indicating that they must belong to something extremely large. Those look like reptile eyes, Ariana comments, fearful for the party. And there is only one type of giant reptile that hoards treasure like that. A dragon. Redfern continues, a mix of fear and genuine intrigue. It's your first potential encounter with a real dragon. Let's do an intelligence check on your hero to see what you may know about them. Needing a 13 or less from Janet, a 6 was rolled. Success, dragons are, of course, terrifying opponents. In addition to their bite, claws and even a tail attack, they possess punishing breath weapons that can wipe out an entire party in one go. While many are evil and some approach goodness, all of them love their treasure, hoarding it like no other creature, apart from humans, of course. Standing there, a king's ransom worth of treasure just 50 feet or so away on the other side of the small underground lake, your heroes look to you for some sort of decision. What do you want to do? Choose an option, climb around the lake to the treasure, ignore the treasure and walk away, swim your way to the treasure. Recognizing the way to the treasure is too dangerous, in addition to the fact that it does not belong to you anyway, you order your party to turn and leave, ready to depart the cave. You simply walk away from my treasure? A strange, monstrous voice suddenly calls out from behind you. Turning back toward the underground lake, lurking there in the water is a massive black dragon, the beast apparently watching you the entire time. The monstrosity towers over all of you, lethal acid dripping from its deadly teeth. Yet, it does not appear overtly hostile. How do you reply to the dark beast? Choose an option. Honestly, we had no way to reach it, it didn't belong to us, we don't want to fight, mighty beast. That is surprising, the dragon hisses, somewhat impressed. The greed and lust for treasure I've seen in you humanoids rivals even mine. What are you doing here in the marshlands of southern Greenland? The dragon continues, eyeing all of you very carefully. We're searching for someone. Kartha boldly announces, knowing the folly of trying to fool such an ancient, intelligent, deadly beast. And who would that be? An old wizard, named Lodice. At once, the black dragon lets loose with an incredibly loud howl, discharging its acidic breath weapon, away from you, in a fit of absolute anger, its echo shaking the entire cave. It appears that this dragon actually knows of Lodice, and not in a good way. And are you his friends? The dragon sneers, seemingly ready to attack. We've never met him, Eswin responds, standing his own ground as well. But he seems to leave a wave of heartache wherever he goes. Staring at the dragon, let's do a party empathy check to see if you notice anything here. Needing a 12 or less from your heroes, a 18 was rolled. Failure, he seems quite angry, Sainadius comments, watching the dragon's every move. She's not a male, Kartha corrects, a little cynical. Isn't that like a man to assume everything you meet is male? This sorcerer you seek is here, not far away, the dragon responds after an anxious pause. He's building an army to attack the female humanoids of EAA to the east. Whoa. An army? To attack EAA? Before you can fully digest the revelation, however, Kartha boldly takes a step forward, a risky question on her lips. He hurt you, didn't he? What did Lodi's do to you? Watching Kartha with a mix of honor and terror, your entire party turns to the dragon to see her response. The dragon looks ready to breathe acid on all of you, especially Kartha. Instead, it bows its head in sadness, continuing the conversation. Lodi's came here a short time ago, and convinced my twins, my beautiful twins, to leave with him and join his army. I wanted nothing to do with the likes of you humanoids, but my children, in their youthful zeal, followed the sorcerer away, leaving me here, alone. I want my children back. The great beast wails again, spraying its breath weapon into the ceiling this time and nearly causing the cave to collapse. If Lodi's has raised an army to march against EAA, we would stop him, Kartha continues, standing her ground before the awesome creature. And once he is stopped, we could try to convince your offspring to return to you, safe and sound. The dragon approaches Kartha, pushing her overbearing head almost against the priestess. Kartha bravely stands her ground, however, keeping her eyes locked fully on the dragon. Why would you do such a thing? The beast asks, quite suspicious. We know nothing of one another, choose an option, empathy, because you love your children, honor, it would be the right thing to do, tolerance, a favor for a future favor? Perhaps we can help one another, Kartha continues, her suggestion daring. A favor for a future favor? If the opportunity arises, we will do our best to convince your offspring to return to you, and, if our paths cross again someday, you may be compelled to help us if we ask? The black dragon considers Kartha's response, then looks to all of you, seemingly peering into your very souls. Your party has been in some tough situations before, but standing face to face with a living, breathing black dragon like this is quite harrowing. Very well, the great beast finally responds. Go find Lodi's and do what you must with him, but convince my twins to return to me. Do this, and I will be indebted to you. And with that, the dragon retreats, lowering itself back into the small lake and disappearing, leaving your party in an eerie silence. That was well said, Redfern responds to Kartha, breaking the silence. Most black dragons are evil, selfish monsters, but your words not only calm the beast but, if we can return her children to her, may actually make her an ally. Kartha nods with approval, even Sainair's impressed by her actions. Then let's go find Lodi's, Eswin instructs, ready to leave you back out of the cave. If he's planning to attack EAA, we need to stop him. GM note, your quest log has been updated. Click the quests button for all the details, the encounter here with the black dragon over with, it's time for your party to move on, the cave's exit to the south your only option here. Travel alert, using the path, you travel south, taking 15 minutes to arrive, standing amongst the stone statues here, you can travel south from where the swamp monsters came from, back west or to the north again. Travel alert, using the path, you travel south, taking 10 minutes to arrive, approaching this area from the north, you quickly observe a variety of wooden cages scattered about, each perhaps 10 feet tall and containing a variety of humanoids. Your intuition tells you that you probably don't want to be noticed by the humanoids within the cages, So let's do a party dexterity check to see whether you're able to remain out of sight. Needing a 14 or less from your heroes, a 10 was rolled. Success, able to remain hidden from the humanoids within the cages, you watch from a distance to see what you can determine. All in all, you count 6 cages, with each containing 1 to a few poorly dressed humans. From the relative distance, let's do a curiosity check on your hero to see what else you notice here. Needing a 15 or less from Janet, a 20 was rolled. Failure, well, you do notice that all the humans here are male, there isn't a single female present. The men also seem, well, angry and out of control. Needing to learn more, you slowly approach the cages, weapons out and ready for anything. Nearing the first few cages, the ragged humans here rattle their cages in anger and revolt, demanding to be let out. You then realize that these aren't men anymore but undead wights, wanting to rend your flesh from your very bones. Let's do a party wisdom check to see what more you can determine here. Needing a 13 or less from your heroes, a 4 was rolled. Success, these are probably more male prisoners pushed through the teleportation portal like we were, Kartha observes, keeping her distance. It appears they were captured and fed to some wights, becoming wights themselves. How terrible. It does not seem right to leave them this way, Ariana comments, watching the monsters reaching out toward you. What should we do with them? All eyes turn to you, your heroes all wondering the same thing. What do you do? Choose an option, cull the wights within their cages, leave the cages and the wights alone. The party's reputation score permanently increases by 1 point, though involving a little risk. The party as a whole agrees that the wights should be put down, so they agree with your decision. Actually, it does not take much to cull the wights, your heroes using their missile weapons and spells on them cage by cage, minimizing the risks to your party. Indeed, we don't even need to go through a combat encounter here, as your party maintains a safe distance from the monsters as they're put down. About 10 minutes later the deed is done, the wights are all destroyed and nobody in the party loses even a single hit point, let alone an energy level. Both Kartha and Sainairs thank you for making the decision to put these wretched creatures out of their misery. That was definitely the right decision, Janet. Let's reward that with some bonus experience. Each hero earns 188 experience points. The encounter here complete, paths lead away to the north and south. Travel alert, using the path, you travel south, taking 10 minutes to arrive. A small construction stands here, 2 old tree trunks supporting a dozen or so large timbers with lots of smaller branches, plants, and foliage growing all about. 3 black cauldrons boil some sort of liquid within the shrine, each lit from underneath. Making sure to stay out of sight this time, you watch as a very large old woman waddles back and forth between the cauldrons, checking on them. Let's do a party curiosity check to see if you notice anything more here. Needing a 11 or less from your heroes, a 10 was rolled. Success, watching very carefully, you think the old crone is talking to someone, although you don't see anyone else within the shrine. While the old woman hasn't noticed you yet, there is not much you can do from the distance here either. You could try to sneak past her, and there are lots of options here, as paths lead away to the west, southwest, south, southeast and east, the latter path disappearing deeper into the marshland. Otherwise, you will need to interact with the woman in some way. What do you do? Choose an option, attack the old crone. Converse with the old crone, sneak past the old crone? Who is that, there? The old woman complains, looking about. As you approach, the old crone steps out of the relative shadows of the shrine and you get a first good look at her. The woman is quite obese and about as ugly as you've seen, her clothes quite old as well and haphazardly sewn together. The old woman also appears hideously deformed, so much so that you really can't be sure she's even human. Nearing her to 10 feet, let's do an intelligence check on the party to see what you determine. Needing a 14 or less from your heroes, a 6 was rolled. Success, this is no human, Redfern whispers. She's fey, like the dryad we rescued back at the Baron's mansion, but far more evil. Your intuition tells you to be on your guard, Janet. And what have we here? The old woman begins, sizing you up almost as if she were to make a stew out of all of you. We're looking for an older magic user, Cartha returns without hesitation. His name is Lodeyes, do you know him? The old crone's eyes suddenly enlarge, one eye bigger than the other. You know Lodeyes? Are you here to join his army? Surprised by the question, how do you respond? Choose an option. No, we just want to talk to him, our reasons are our own, crone. Yes, can you tell us where he is? You want to meet that old, crazy wizard? The strange woman replies, her evil smile warning you that something is amiss. What are you doing out here? Redfern then asks, peering over the old crone's shoulder back toward the shrine. What is that you're brewing? Oh, that's all just an elixir for Lodeyes' army, to make them even more fierce. The old woman replies, her mind on other things. But Lodeyes and the Chambliers won't want a group with your intelligence. No, they won't want you at all. The old crone starts poking each of your heroes with the cane she's using to walk with, mumbling to herself. She then turns to you, a wicked grin on her deformed face. Most of you are a little scrawny, but I am sure you will be tasty nonetheless. Not liking to be referred to as some sort of food, Eswin draws his blade, sensing an imminent attack. Perhaps we should be going. Cartha suggests, tugging at you to begin moving away from the old woman. No, I don't think you will be leaving, you're too good and juicy to pass up. Oh, boys. Calling out, you watch as several cleric-like humanoids step out of their hiding places back within the shrine. Dressed in religious garb that appears old and even rotting, they approach the old crone, 4 clerics all together. As they approach, let's do a party intelligence check to see if you notice anything important about them. Needing a 14 or less from your heroes, a 9 was rolled. Success, those aren't human clerics, Sainadius informs the party, quite concerned. They're undead monsters called cadavers, but they cast spells like a cleric, so be careful. Now just 10 feet away, it's clear they are not living clerics, they look more like ghouls but possess a presence, almost a patience, ghouls don't possess. One of them is eating the arm of some unfortunate person, however, the sight most distressing. As the old woman standing there as well as these cadavers stare hungrily at you, let's do a quick intelligence check on your hero to see if you determine anything more here. Needing a 13 or less from Janet, a 7 was rolled. Success, yes, you recognize the whites you discovered in those cages to the north were actually food for these monsters, now you realize what purpose they served. Lodeyes won't be happy if you keep us from him. Cartha suggests, trying to avoid combat. Lodeyes will never know, the old crone replies, licking her lips. Boys, let's feast. And with that, the 4 cleric-like cadavers attack, as does the old woman, the monsters looking to defeat and then devour all of you. Your party is under attack. Menacing your entire party are 1 bog crone and 4 cadavers. It's Ariana's turn. What do you want her to do? Ariana readies her short bow and fires at cadaver number 2, needing a 17 to hit. Die roll is a 20 which is an automatic hit and does double damage. Ariana hits cadaver number 2. Janet casts Bane on all encountered combatants, attempting to curse all enemies, -1 to hit and saving throws. Bog Crone is Bane for Sainairs casts Bless on the entire party, potentially blessing them. Janet is blessed, needing a 35 or less on percentile dice, a 64. It's Redfern's turn. What do you want him to do? Redfern casts Fireball on roughly half of all encountered combatants, blasting them in an explosion of flame. Bog Crone is burned for 50. Kartha casts Spiritual Hammer on Bog Crone, bashing her for 3 points of damage for 5 minutes. Bog Crone has been defeated. Cadaver number. It's Barthal's turn. What do you want him to do? Barthal readies his short bow and fires at cadaver number 3, needing a 15 to hit. Die roll is a 19, plus 4 to hit. Barthal hits cadaver number 3, doing 4 points of damage and leaving him with 9 hit points. Cadaver casts Hold Person on Redfern, holding him and causing him to become immobilized in place for an hour, needing a 11 or greater. Redfern rolls a 6 and fails versus spells. It's Eswin's turn. What do you want him to do? Eswin readies his short bow and fires at cadaver number 3, needing a 15 to hit. Die roll is a 12, plus GM note, a new combat round has begun. Initiative is roll. Janet casts Cause Light Wounds on cadaver number 3, wounding him for 9 points of damage, needing a 14 or greater. Cadaver number 3 rolls a 2 and fails versus spells. Eswin readies his short bow and fires at cadaver number 4, needing a 15 to hit. Sainairs readies his sling +1 and fires at cadaver number 4. Kartha readies her sling and fires at cadaver number 4, needing a 15 to hit. Marioleth leaps forward and engages with cadaver number 4 in hand-to-hand combat. Cadaver, it's Ariana's turn. What do you want her to do? Ariana readies her longsword +1 and swings at cadaver number 4. Barthal readies his short sword +1 and swings at cadaver number 4. GM note, a new combat round has begun. Initiative is rolled. GM note, after any remaining combat, click the Take Items button to grab any dropped loot. Janet readies her mace +2 and swings at cadaver number 4, needing a 15 to hit. Die roll is a 16, plus 6 to hit. Janet hits cadaver number 4, doing 9 points of damage and defeating him. Well done. All combatants have been defeated, ending the battle. Each hero receives 306 experience points. The last of the monsters go down and you breathe a sigh of relief, glad to be done with the disgusting creatures. I hate undead. Eswin mutters under his breath, glad to have dispatched the monsters here. Let's go. We should search the shrine first, Ariana suggests, pointing ahead. Maybe we can learn more. The corpses of the defeated cadavers and Bog Crone not yielding anything important, your heroes step toward the odd shrine about 20 feet away, intent on searching it. GM alert, Bless is no longer affecting the party. Searching the shrine, you feel an evil vibe here, along with a putrid stench that came from the cadavers you just defeated. The 3 cauldrons here continue to boil, a sickly green concoction bubbling within the large black pots. A variety of old kitchen utensils and small containers also lie jumbled together in one corner of the shrine, likely used in tandem with the cauldrons. Ariana then eyes a peculiar silver coffer mixed in with the junk. Lodi's told us to look for these silver coffers. Ariana recalls as she grabs the object and hands it to you. Maybe there is another note inside. Taking the coffer, you give it a quick inspection before removing the hinge top and looking inside. Sure enough, there is a small bit of parchment, folded up several times. Removing the parchment and unfolding it, the note reads to have found this note, you've destroyed the Bog Crone and cadavers, well done. Take the path east to come find me. Gazing to the east, you can see the path leading deeper into the marshland, but that's about it. What about all these other directions? Sainairs asks, looking back to the west and south. We could try them, but Lodi's apparently awaits to the east. Redfern responds, the magic user suggesting that your party follow the advice written on the parchment. The monsters here slain and the silver coffer raided, it's time to move on. Several small trails lead away to the west, southwest, south and southeast. A more pronounced trail leads away to the east, while the trail back to the white cages will take you north again.